Welcome to another episode of the Off Market Operator, you guys. In this episode, we're going into a lot of stuff I'm very passionate about, which is really just along the lines of, how do we build a business instead of, building chronic busyness. An important topic that I was thinking about a lot on my kind of week off last week, right? I was out of town and took a week off from recording these shows for you guys. I'm back on our normal schedule of Mondays and Thursdays now, and I'm super excited for you guys to listen to the show. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Enjoy the show. People don't fail at real estate because they suck. They fail because there's too many ways to succeed. That's why I suggest you focus on the most important skill in all of real estate, which is finding deals. I'm Ruud-Johnson, and in this podcast, I share the exact steps I've used to source 400 deals by age 24. This will allow you to do three things: control your deal flow, make unlimited income, and build your empire as an off-market operator. Welcome back to the Off-Market Operator Show, you guys. I know we've had a week off last week as I was traveling and decided to just take a week break from shows. But the rest of the summer, you guys, going into the fall, a lot of exciting things planned for the Off-Market Operator Show and everything else we do at Off-Market Operator. And I'm excited to break that down in the show. But what I want to touch on today, you guys, is the concept of building a business or building busyness in your life. Okay, so most entrepreneurs, we start out, we talk about the hustler, operator, architect phases of business all the time on this show. When we look at the hustler phase specifically, right, we have to wear multiple hats. So when we're starting out, we're a bootstrap company, right? Most of us, as we start our entrepreneurial journey, we're not coming out and creating tech companies and raising a bunch of venture capital, and so we're bootstrapping. Which means we're self-funding either from our W-2s or we're borrowing money from someone or putting it on credit cards. I've heard a million different ways to start heading towards your first deal. But at the end of the day, when you're wearing multiple hats, you are building the habit of busyness, which is a necessity when you're starting out your company, you're starting out your business, and that's okay. You'll hear it, like, for example, the last two shows we did 2 weeks back with Blake, a good buddy of mine who's crushing it at Airbnb. He was talking about how he was spending 14, 16 hours a day getting his business off the ground. And any real estate business or any business requires that season of busyness. And that creates a habit of busyness, which can ultimately eventually leads to burnout and a high paying job, and you either leaving the business or going to do something else. And so, I'm going to talk about kind of ranges of revenue here and what comes with that. So from $0 to $500,000 in this business, but really any business, is the season of busyness. Okay, that's a season of being a hustler. You're on this hamster wheel constantly chasing the next deal. And so you're talking to sellers, you're talking to buyers, you're talking to title and escrow, you're selling the deals, getting contracts signed. If you're flipping homes, you're running to all the properties yourself. You're doing development. You're running down to the city every day yourself for permits and plans. No matter what your business is, that 0 to 500,000, that couple deals a year phase, the hustler phase, we're on that constant hamster wheel of chasing the next deal always. And most of us go through that unless we've gotten in this business from a different business and we've invested capital in building a team right away. Most of us, as we're building our skill set, our entrepreneurial tool belt, and everything that comes with that, scaling in that $0 to $500,000 range, we're most likely going to be pure hustlers. Okay, constantly busy. And that's okay, right? And as you guys go from 0 to 500 to 500 million, the main thing that changes is you start becoming more of an operator. All right, the O, the H, O to A, the O. And what that means is now we're starting to actually hire people. We're starting to build some systems and processes. We're starting to build some standard operating procedures. We're starting to build a business. Okay, we're getting away from our busyness and starting to build a business. And how you know if you truly have a business is if you leave town, for a week or two, and not only do your company maintain, but you actually make more money. That's the real test if you have a business, and $500 million where you start to form that. I'm not saying you're not involved in your business. Most people are in this phase, but you're starting to build the pieces and the team to eventually take it where you need to take it for whatever you want to do. And that comes with detaching from busyness, detaching from email, detaching from Slack, detaching from the stuff that doesn't move the needle, and spending time in your zone of genius, which is what actually makes your company money. Because most of us don't. If we all broke our days down in 15, 30-minute increments, most of us aren't truly spending the time, our time on high leverage, needle moving activities. Most of us. I try to do an exercise every 2 weeks where I document my day in 15-minute increments. And most of us are, when we're honest with ourselves, our time is going to things, social media, Facebook, blah, 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 that aren't actually moving the needle forward. And so building a business, guys, is focusing on stuff that moves the needle forward and creating systems, people's processes, and content that are high leverage. Okay. And the reason it's so important is because the number one thing that holds any business owner back is this thing, right? Most people can't do millions of dollars a year um, without a team, without systems, without processes, and without a real company. And I'll need to give you an example of this. So most entrepreneurs, when they come into the off-market acquisition game, the flipping game, the development game, the trajectory normally looks, and I drew a map of this, you guys, for people in my coaching group on our last community call. But normally it looks like you get into the business from 0 to 500,000. Okay. In that 0 to 500,000 dollar range, like I just talking about before, you're hustling for your next deal, you're working your ass off, you're wearing multiple hats, and then you start pushing to $500 million, and you start hiring people, you start building processes, you start building systems. That's the hard part, right? Hiring people is hard. Retention is hard with employees, right? They're going to be leaving you, whether it's cold callers, acquisitions people, disposition people, contractors, general subcontractors, whatever that is. They're gonna have churn, and most people are stuck forever in that $500 million a year, $2 million a year range. Churning staff, churning employees, and they constantly get frustrated. And they're constantly teeter tottering between the operator and the hustler stage. And what tends to happen as after enough months of this, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 2 years, they go, man, I'm just not meant to hire and train people. And instead of continuing down and building their skill set to become a business owner, which is the hardest thing to do in business, they revert back to that hustler stage, but in a different vehicle that can make them more money. For example, if you're a wholesaler and you're doing, 500 grand a year and you keep trying to go to that $1 million, $2 million, building a team, getting an office, and you keep having people quit, you just can't quite figure it out after a year or two. You're going to probably go and back into a vehicle that's higher leverage for you if you have to trade your time. You know, a lot of times I see guys get here, they do, 500 grand to 2.5 million a year in wholesaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And they go into fix and flip and they just do that themselves because they can make a little more money per deal, or they go into development, or they go into Airbnb, or blah, 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 blah. Okay. It doesn't really matter what happens with you're going to run into the same issue in every single business that they attempt to build. Okay. If they go try to start a development company after running a wholesaling business, they're going to run into the same exact issue and they try to get to scale of people, processes, systems, and content. Okay. And if they can't figure that piece out, no matter what business they restart and that has more leverage, they're going to run into that same bottleneck. And so the solution to business isn't starting more companies. The solution to business is building the skills, both with yourself personally and your business skills, to solve individual bottlenecks, because any business you face is going to have similar bottlenecks at certain points of growth. And that is what the very wealthy architects, people in our society that built incredible empires, not just one company, have figured out, is how to solve those bottlenecks. Okay. If it's people, it's how do they source, train, manage, and recruit the best people? If it's content, how do they create the best content to bring in leads or to educate their own company? If it's systems and processes, who do they need to come in and build these systems and processes? Who needs to outline them? They're ruthlessly attacking individual bottlenecks one at a time until they figure it out. And that is a difference. And I was as guilty of this as anyone else in my wholesaling company. Every time we hit this, million and a half, I would go and, start another business and be like, oh, well, we'll go back to ground zero. This is exciting new business. And we get to the same point, right? The same exact thing happens. It's, recruiting the right talent, getting out of their way. And what I can tell you guys over the past 6 months, 12 months, when I really said, screw this, no more companies, I'm going to ruthlessly attack and solve individual bottlenecks. You create a real business and you create this skill set that then will translate into any business you want to start. And so what I would say, you guys, is you guys are growing in your company. Don't think a different business is going to solve it, right? Having a different vehicle can slightly increase your profit margin. And I'm a big proponent of, starting your journey in non-cash intensive businesses. If it's your first business, like wholesaling, it's not a super cash intensive business in relation to flipping or development or anything else in real estate or like software, tech, or whatever. But it still is a real thing when it comes to understanding, um, everything I'm talking about in the show of, your journey of solving bottlenecks, learning how to be a business owner. Because you guys, you should be thankful that someone's not handing you a $5 million company when you haven't learned how to run a $5 million company, right? Because there's skills that you have to have that you do not have yet because you haven't built, because you haven't solved these bottlenecks. Every single skill set an entrepreneur has built or a company they built is built on a mountain of bottlenecks. Okay, solving problems. That's what being an entrepreneur is. It's solving problems for a living. And as you guys go through this, and I try to echo this to my group, all my coaching groups all the time. But as you guys build your companies and you build your life, understanding that when these bottlenecks happen, it's not time to get distracted or go on to the next thing or freak out. It's time to dig deep, solve them. If you need to go take a course or a mastermind, learn the skills you need to learn, awesome. If you need to go learn how to hire, go learn how to hire. If you need to go bring a certain person on, if you need to go build a certain process, awesome. But every single bottleneck is an opportunity to build a skill set that allows you to get rid of busyness. Okay. Because as you develop these, you end up buying time back. Every bottleneck you usually solve in a business, if it's a people, every bottleneck is either, leads, conversion, or operations. That really comes down to people, processes, systems, and content. Okay. And management goes with that, and training. Management and training go with that people part. But every single business bottleneck comes down to one of those core three things. That is it. If you are stuck, if you're losing money, if your P&L is not as healthy as you want, if your team's not as productive as you want, if you're not crushing it like you think you should be, those are things to look at. People, processes, leads, conversion, and ops. Okay, that is the important piece of all of this. So, as you guys know, um, always on the show, I try to bring you guys real, actionable, valuable information. And we're going to be back on our normal schedule. So Mondays and Thursdays every single week, we'll be dropping a show for you guys. And I'm looking forward to helping you continue to become off-market operators. Thanks for hanging out, guys, the last, 10, 12 minutes. I wanted to keep it short today. Today is the day before the 4th of July. It is July 3rd. And when you guys are getting this episode here about busyness, and as you guys go in past this holiday season into the second half of this year, because we are halfway through the year, make sure you guys try to build a business instead of just more busyness for yourself. Because something one of my mentors had said that really resonated with me is that entrepreneurs tend to not grow if it is painful to grow. And what I mean by that is if your day is already a 12, 14-hour day, entrepreneurs will tend to not grow their business subconsciously, consciously, if there's too much pain there, and if they're constantly just making a tougher and tougher schedule for themselves. So the concepts I talk about in this episode, guys, will help you start to get rid of some of your chronic busyness and start to understand what it takes to build a business. And it is hard, and it should be hard, and it is challenging, and it should be challenging. We are back on our normal schedule, as I said, Mondays and Thursdays, bringing on some cool guests soon and recording more of these shows, both these personal one-off shows with tactical advice and our boat guest shows. Every single guest show we do is going to be on our boat. And so if you guys want to be a potential feature on a guest show, you can always MJ, you can always email MJ, that is MJ Michael Jordan, MJ for short, at Ruud-Johnson.com. That is my assistant who can get you guys set up for a guest appearance if you guys want to. Eventually down the road, we're pretty strict with that, so you will go through a vetting process, but that is an opportunity. And no matter where you guys are catching this, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, a comment, a review, a like, a subscribe means the world, and a DM just letting me know you like the show, you're learning from it, any topics you want me to cover, any people you want me to bring on. I'm excited to continue to bring you guys a show throughout the second half of 2023 as we cross 50 episodes this year, which we're on pace for. So as always, you guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out, and it means the world to me you listen to the show. And if you could tell a friend, that'd be awesome. And until next time, you are only one deal away.